In Part 13 of Module 12 on Traditional and Visible Services, we'll discuss sustainable transportation systems. In 2007, the Government Accountability Office, GAO, convened a group of transportation experts to provide policy guidance on how to build a more sustainable transportation system. Their report concluded that the present system of transportation system finance would be adequate to maintain present conditions and fund some growth over the next 15 years, but that traffic congestion levels could not be reduced with the current transportation finance system. The report raised other concerns about the current transportation system that is heavily reliant on the use of cars and trucks, including environmental degradation, loss of habitat and wetlands, water and air pollution, energy use, and so forth, social equity, transportation access, especially for the growing retiree population, and quality of life issues such as a sense of community and development of cohesive, inclusive, diverse, and resilient local communities. The GAO study, as well as the National Governors Association, recommended a host of funding mechanisms and a rethinking of how taxes are collected for the support of transportation services. For example, one problem with the current system is that taxing fuel consumption rather than street and highway use disconnect the price travelers pay for using the transportation system from the actual cost of providing the capacity they use. As a result, efficient use of the system is not rewarded, and inefficient use is not penalized, precipitating a variety of adverse productivity, environmental, and community impacts. Other sustainability-oriented reforms could include congestion pricing, a practice used in cities abroad that tries to influence driver behavior by charging drivers higher fees to use public roads during peak congestion hours. An example of this approach can be found in London, where drivers of private vehicles must pay £5, about $7, to drive in London's central city between 7 a.m. and 6:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, excluding holidays. This sanction has been successful in discouraging private car traffic and congestion in the inner city by taxing drivers. The GAO and NGA also suggest the increased use of tolls to finance road and bridge maintenance and improvements, as well as other types of user fees. They also call for more public-private partnerships in transportation to reduce costs and leverage resources. User fees are fees charged for a public service or facility. Many advocates of a sustainable transportation system suggest a comprehensive paradigm shift in how local communities think about transportation. For example, these advocates suggest that walking and the use of bicycles, where feasible, will greatly reduce costs, pollution, and congestion while promoting public health and wellness among citizens. It follows that planning for bike lanes and paths is important, along with the development of urban hubs that have commercial space for jobs and stores and restaurants located nearby to high-density residential areas to encourage walking and biking. One community that has encouraged this approach to urban planning would be Davis, California, where residents voted to eliminate school bus transportation to encourage children to walk or bike to school. Other modes of urban transportation considered sustainable in terms of less pollution, less congestion, and perhaps more feasibility for those people with longer commutes are light rail and/or metro, elevated rail, and subway systems that provide relatively cheap, rapid, and reliable services for millions of citizens every day. In addition, some cities have been building light rail systems like what an American tourist might find in many European cities. While there are some opponents of adopting such systems due to the initial construction and operating costs, as well as by urban neighborhoods that might be affected or displaced due to the location of lines, light rail and other urban rail systems do offer sustainable alternatives to congestion and the automobile-based urban society. In Part 14 of Module 12 on Traditional and Visible Services, we'll discuss emergency management and natural disaster preparedness.